Be here. I kind of feel like Club Pro guy up here. You ever see that guy?
Michael blocking it up there?
Michael Block. I know Michael Block. Yeah.
Your face isn't
It's not covered up.
covered
Yeah.
up.
Thank
You know the
goodness.
hat on.
Yeah. No kidding.
I appreciate that,
No, but I guess opening comments. We just got back late last night from our first event of the fall of the season, and it ended great. We won the event. Didn't have a lot of expectations leading into the event. 3 new players in the lineup, really 2 brand new ones, but our third, Ryan Voice, had played 1 college event for us in his career, so really three new ones at a stacked field out in Sahalee Country Club out in Seattle, Washington. Like I said, not a lot of expectations, but was hoping for the best, and by gosh, we played really solid Illinois golf and got a lead early and held on yesterday at the end, and played really strong golf coming in with a lead. It's hard to play with a lead with any players, but new players on a hard golf course like that was always tricky, and I was curious how we'd hold up. But we got into that position because we had Jackson Buchanan, our returning All-American, shot 66 the first round, and our freshman Max Herendeen, who finished second in the event, lost in a playoff, shot 64 the second round. And when you have low scores like that, that always bodes well for college team golf. So, like I said, got into position, held on to win, and to beat a really strong field on a really hard golf course that was set up like the national championship will be set up. Greens were really firm and hard, and pins were tucked, and I'm thrilled to death. But I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I'm really positively encouraged after what I saw. But next week's a whole new week. We have our event at Olympia Fields. We've had maybe 17 years now, which is the premier event in college golf. The field last week was strong. This will be even stronger on a major championship venue up at Olympia Fields, starting on Friday and ends on Sunday. And we'll see if we can go up and see if we can do something again and maybe shock the world again.
Mike, what'd you learn about your team, given that you had so many newcomers?
Was I worried?
What did you learn about your team?
What I learned about my team, you know, as a coach, you see flashes. We put them through a pretty strenuous 3 weeks of practice for golf, if you believe it. You can put mental challenges and mental strength just to see how they are. And we were curious if we were better than we thought we were, or we were worse than we thought we were, because we had flip-flops in the lineup. Some guys that we didn't maybe expect to play well in qualifying or in our practices played well, and guys that we thought would didn't. So we didn't know where we were. So I found out maybe we're deeper than I thought we were, potential-wise. But again, it's just one event, and you can't in this sport you can't judge anybody by one event. You know, I don't really build rosters, and I don't really tab players how they are based on just one event. I like a body of work, a resume. So that has yet to be seen, but I learned that maybe we're deeper, and you know that when we're coming down the stretch and we started slipping the lead, losing the lead yesterday with some really good teams behind us, teams with All-Americans and top 10 players in the world behind us on that golf course, to hold that lead and actually push out at the end was I learned it's pretty good. I think they listen, and to have the courage to change your game from a junior golfer to a college golfer and change your mindset is hard to do. You've learned to play the game a certain way, a certain linear way, and to be good at golf at a high level, you need to play non-linear. You need to think different ways and maybe play different ways, and maybe lose a battle to win the war type of thing on hard golf courses. And junior players don't necessarily do that, so to come to college and see some of our guys and some of our transfers adapt to that quickly was encouraging. So I think they're coachable, but we still got to get better. We still got to get better, and there's a lot of things to work on.
Mike, what's your message to new guys when they come in, especially off the season you just had, with maybe expectations outside, hey, this is Illinois?
Yeah, we have 2 fifth-year transfers in from mid-major programs that never played golf courses like this at that field. This was new to them. And then the freshmen coming in. Be who you are. We recruited you for a reason. We recruited you because you can play. So be who you are, but meld to how we do things and just be open-minded. And just compete, and we'll figure things out. But you don't try to make things too complicated, but you send messages periodically through the day and through the week of how we do things, and hope some of them stick this time of year. And I think they did, back to that last question. And but you welcome new players with open arms, and you kind of lay the foundation and lay the parameters that we play under, how we live under, but they got to be themselves. They're here because they can play. So, you got to turn your mind off sometimes when you're playing and just kind of be who you are.
What
Coach,
are
was
some of
it-
the challenges for Max, having played as well as he did in his first college tournament, and then to kind of build off that, or at least
Yeah, that's-
understand what's coming for him?
That's a really good question. And then young players, when they have success, they tend to think they're better than they are, and when they play bad, they tend to think they're worse than they are. And that's something you gotta match. And Max is one of the top recruits in the country. Won the National PGA Junior Championship last summer, won the majors in junior golf, and we know he's going to be good. He actually probably, he had this tournament in the bag. He doubled bogey at the 17th hole yesterday and then birdied 18 to go into a playoff. So he knows he has things to learn, but he's very talented. We got asked that question earlier. Dylan Meyer, who played for us a few years ago, was a number 2 amateur in the world when he left here. As a freshman, he won Olympia Fields, and he thought he'd had the whole thing figured out, his first college event, and he soon realized he didn't. So with Max, he's just got to stay what he does, and he's a very mature golfer. He knows the game, he knows his game. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays this week and the rest of the fall. I think he'll do fine, but he's going to have bumps along the way. So again, not to think too high, not to think too great, not to think too low, and just kind of stay steady and let it turn out as it can.
Was it the 64? Was that one of the more impressive performances you've seen from your guys, especially coming on such a difficult golf course?
Yes, we've had good rounds over the past and good players come through here, but for a freshman to come out there, now Max grew up a half hour from there. He's from Seattle, so he had played the golf course a few times. He's not a member there, but he had played the golf course, so he knew it. But still, when you go out and you play in front of a lot of family and friends that were there, that's also nerve-wracking for young players. So he handled that very well. But he's a good front runner. When he gets going, he pipes it down fairways, stripes fairways, hits greens. On that golf course, you had to do that. If you're making par as a Sahalee, you're passing people. And when he shot 64, he really sent a message. And then to follow it up the last round with a solid round was more impressive to me than the 64. Because sometimes when players shoot low scores, that next round you're kind of still living in the past a little bit and kind of living off that. And he turned it around and started all over and really helped us win.
What the transfers showed you since they've gotten here, the transfers?
They're both different type of players. Tyler and Timmy are different players, but I think they're hungry. They like the atmosphere. They like being on a bigger stage, and they both had success at the mid-major level. They're good players, but they both know they got to get better. And we've talked about it, and I think they respect us when we say that from a positive point. And I think there's potential there. I think there's potential there to help us. Now, to what level, we don't know. You never know in this sport. I mean, the mental, the emotional part of your being affects how you play so much. And that's why we try to work on that a lot and try to lay the foundation for that. And I don't know what their mental makeup or their emotional makeup is going to be when adversity hits or success hits for a couple weeks. I don't know yet. We'll work on that, but the potential is there for them to be good.
Coach, I know you got new guys, but does the expectation and tradition here help, like going forward? Like, is it a big deal? Our guys come in thinking that, or is that hurt sometimes, maybe?
I hope it helps.
Okay.
But they have no choice. It is what it is, and we tell them that, and they signed up for this stuff.
Okay.
We didn't twist their arm to come here. We didn't make them. We didn't draft them in the NFL. They're here because they want to be here. So there is expectations,
Okay.
and we talk about that and embrace them. But yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out. But we're not going to compromise. We're not going to settle. We're not going to lower our expectations because we have a new team or a young team or players that may not be ready for it. I'm big on playing young players. I'm big on throwing young guys in there, freshmen in there, transfers in there to see how they do, and sink or swim type of thing. And we're not changing. So either they're with us or they're not.
Mike, do you approach the fall differently than the spring with your players or your staff, or how you prepare?
Yeah, you do in training, you do in playing, but in wins and losses they count the same as the spring. That's what's weird. It's weird. No sports have this long of a season. And the wins and losses we got yesterday count just as much as they will next April. So we want to win, we want to compete, but we got to build, we got to try different things, and we probably work more technically late in the fall and during the winter than we will any other time. But it's important. I want to get guys different. We talked as a team. I'm gonna have different lineups this year. I'm gonna put some different guys in to see how they do and how they coexist and intermingle and get along, and that's what you do in the fall. But at the same point in time, it's important because wins and losses count. So yeah, the fall season, the spring season, and then championship season is what we always call it. And they get more important, obviously, in the spring and the championship season. If you don't play good in the fall, you're behind the 8 ball really bad going into the spring. And we can still play bad in the fall. I mean, you got to have your guard up. I mean, we got some big tournaments coming up that we could, who knows? I mean, yesterday was, I wouldn't call it a surprise, but I didn't know what to expect. And next week could be the same or opposite, I don't know.
How's Jackson kind of handled the elevated role on the team?
That's a good question. He's learning. You know, a year ago, nobody knew Jackson.
Right.
Then he finishes second in the NCAAs and is low in the stroke play portion of the USAM, and now everybody knows Jackson. And I think he'll be the first one to admit. I think he's not living in the present as much as he needs to be. You know, he knows expectations. He's seen what his results have done for him, and he's living in the past a little bit, thinking he has to play up to those. So there's more pressure on himself, and he's thinking in the future a little too much. So that's the normal growth of a young player. But he's so talented, and I think he's smart. I know he's smart and he's coachable, but he's fighting himself in areas. And when you have a sport like this that's so cerebral, like I said, and so emotional, where you initiate the action on every shot, there's nothing to react to. Nobody else can put you in the right frame of mind. You have to do it yourself. That's a big deal. So he's learning to go through that right now.
Anything else for Coachable?
The field this weekend, you sort of mentioned, but just how good is it? I mean, this is about as good as it gets.
Every year, this is a top 3 field in college
Right.
golf, and this year maybe number 1 after they do the whole season. I don't know, but there's several Walker Cup members, several top 10 players in the world that are going to be here. A couple are injured. Stanford had a player that's injured, and then Arizona State had a player that won the playoff yesterday with Max, who got an exemption to the PGA Tour event this week. He won't be there, but besides those two, it's be a lot of good players, a lot of great teams, and any team there could win. Any team there could finish 15th.
Anything else?